What is up, everybody? My name is Sturgeon Anderson. Some of you guys might know me as TheBigSturg on social media. And welcome to my first cooking video. As some of you may have seen, I posted on Instagram and YouTube that I was gonna be starting cooking videos on YouTube. And today, we're gonna be cooking carbonara. Carbonara! I'm so sorry. But it is pretty simple. The ingredients that you are going to need are a fatty piece of cured pork belly. You can go with bacon, but if you can find a chunk of it at the supermarket, then you're able to cut it up into whatever size chunk that you want. We're also gonna need Parmigiano Reggiano. You can basically find this at any supermarket anywhere. We're also gonna need 3 eggs. 2 of the eggs we're just gonna use for the egg yolk, and 1 of the eggs we're gonna use whole. You're also gonna wanna find a pasta that you enjoy. Personally, for this dish, I'm gonna go with thin spaghetti, but you can go with whatever pasta you want. It's up to you. Either way, it's gonna taste amazing. We're also gonna need salt, we're gonna need pepper, and we are also gonna need a very little drop of oil of your choice. I prefer avocado oil. Personally, right now on hand, I have canola oil, but use whatever you want. Heck, you could use olive oil too, it's an Italian dish. And that is it. That is the entire ingredient list. Now, when it comes to dishes, what you're gonna need: a knife, a cutting board, you're also gonna need a pot with water in it, and a pan. Other than that, that's it. So let's get right into it. We're gonna start off by cutting up the pork into whatever size chunks that we want. I'm gonna go about 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch chunks. I feel like with that size, they render down really nicely, add the perfect crunch to the dish. And sometimes if you go a little too big, then you get to the point where it can start to get weird textures and all that stuff. So personally, I like it in smaller chunks, but not as thin as bacon. Bacon, it gets just way too crispy. You get no chew of the meat, nothing. But if all you have is bacon, you gotta use bacon. So now let's get into cutting up the pork. So with this piece of pork belly, I actually found this at Safeway. It's just a cured piece of pork belly, and it's perfect for this dish. This one actually came with the skin of the pig on there, so I'm actually gonna cut this off. So I cut up a portion of the pork that I'm gonna use for the dish. I'm gonna cut the skin off the top. I don't need this, it'll just be chewy, so I'm gonna throw this away. Or you could actually take this, fry it up in a pan, make it super, super crispy, but I'm not gonna go through the time and effort to do that. I want some pasta carbonara. So I'm gonna cut this up into pieces. This piece of meat was a little weird shape, so I'm gonna have some smaller pieces mixed in with the bigger pieces, but that is fine. These super fatty pieces, I'm just gonna throw away. There's no meat or anything under them, it'll just be kind of weird. When chopping the pork, it does make it a lot easier if you put it in the freezer for like 30 minutes beforehand. And make it so it doesn't stick to the knife when you're trying to cut through it. But it's not the end of the world. So I went ahead, chopped up all the pork into size pieces that I want. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this into the pan so we can start burning off the fat. And next we'll get into chopping up the garlic. Up next, we are going to be doing something that's not really traditional when it comes to carbonara. We are going to be cutting up garlic. Now some of you guys are like, Sturge, why are we using garlic? Listen, we're not putting it in the dish necessarily. You guys are gonna see, it's gonna make the entire dish perfect. Now, if you're not a fan of garlic, don't use garlic. It's completely up to you guys. The thing with this dish, it's completely customizable. As long as you use the main ingredients, have at it. The way that we're gonna use the garlic is use it as a topping to finish off the dish right at the very end. So, when it comes to chopping up the garlic, I don't want these big raw chunks of garlic to go on top of the end. That's just gonna ruin the dish. What I'm looking for are these really thin, nice slices of garlic that we're gonna put in the pan with oil, crisp up to make like a garlic crisp to go right on top of the carbonara. So the next ingredient that we're gonna get ready for the carbonara is the egg mixture. So, like I said at the beginning, we're gonna need 3 eggs. 2 of these we're just using for the yolk. 1 of these we're using the entire egg. Now, if you're somebody who enjoys egg whites in the morning, go ahead and save the egg whites that you're just taking the yolk out from. And what I'm gonna use is these perfect little containers you can find on Amazon, and we're gonna crack the eggs into them. We're gonna go with 1 whole egg into a mixing dish. And with the other 2 eggs, we're going to take out the yolk. Yolk number 2, looking beautiful. Throw that into the mixing dish. Next, into the mixing dish, we're going to add a ton of Parmigiano Reggiano. So now we're gonna add the freshly grated Parmesan into the mixing dish, along with a decent sized pinch of salt. And this one's important, freshly cracked black pepper. Add as much or as little as you want to the dish. Personally, I love black pepper. It adds just the perfect pop to the whole dish. And once we got everything into the mixing dish, we're gonna mix it all up and this is ready to go. Once it's all mixed, it should kind of look like this. And now that we have everything prepared, it's time to actually get to cooking. So, as I've been preparing all this, I have had this pot of water boiling away, ready for the pasta. So we're gonna put that in right now. Be about 7 minutes until the pasta's done, then we're gonna drain it. We're gonna save a little bit of that pasta water, the starchy water. That'll help thicken up the sauce once we finish it in the pan with the pork, the cheese, black pepper, salt, all the goodness. So let's get into it. So as you can see right here, we're starting to crisp up the garlic. You gotta watch the garlic because it can burn really fast. So we're gonna give this another 15, 20 seconds and we'll probably take it off the pan and throw in the pork belly. Now when it comes to your boiling water, do not forget to add just a pinch of salt into the water. This will help the pasta from sticking to the pan, and most importantly, the pasta sticking together to itself. So now we have this garlic infused oil that we're gonna throw the pork belly in and start rendering down the pork belly fat. So once we throw the pork belly in, at this point, this is when you wanna start boiling down your pasta. The water just came up to a boil, so I'm gonna throw that in right now. So as you can see here, our water has came up to a boil. Now it's time to throw the pasta into the pot. As I said before, I'm going with thin spaghetti, but you can go with whatever kind of pasta you prefer. And for me, my pasta is bigger than the pot. Don't do anything, don't try to break the pasta, just leave it. It'll go down into the pot on its own. Maybe you have to give it a little bit of assistance. Once the bottom starts to soften up, then you can start to fold it into the water. And then you can start that timer for 7 minutes or however long it takes for you to cook up your pasta. Just like that, the pasta goes into the pot and it's boiling away. Our pork belly is starting to render down really nice. We're starting to get a nice crust on the pork belly. We're gonna render this down for another 3 or 4 minutes. And then we will take it out of the pan, but leave the grease in the pan. Starting to get nice and crispy, almost to the point that we want it at. Give it maybe 2 more minutes, and this will be good to go. We had the pork belly all rendered down, about perfect to what I want for this dish. Nice and crispy, and it'll still have a little bit of chew on the inside. Should be perfect. So we're gonna take this out of the pan, we're gonna leave the oil in, we're gonna shut the heat off and let the pan cool down before we move on to the next step. So our pasta has finished cooking, but don't forget we do need to get some of the starchy water for the sauce. So I'm gonna grab a container, grab a little bit of the starchy water, and then I'm gonna drain the pasta, move on to the next step. The starchy water to temp the eggs. If you guys don't know what that is, I'm gonna show you guys here in a second what temping the eggs means. So here's our pan. I've let it cool down for a few minutes. So now I'm gonna throw the pasta into the pan. Pan's still a little bit hot, so I'm gonna move it off of the heat, let the oil infuse with all the pasta. I'm gonna let it sit to the side while I get the egg mixture ready. So right now I'm going to take that starchy water that we just grabbed out of the pot. Be careful because the water is still hot. And I'm going to take the water and mix it into the egg mixture that we had made to bring the temperature of the eggs up before we put it into the pan. If we don't do this step, then the eggs will cook way too fast for the pasta, and then you'll pretty much just get scrambled eggs mixed with noodles. And we don't want that. So we're gonna slowly add some water into the egg mixture, bring the temperature up, and then we're gonna go over to the pan and pour the egg mixture on top of the noodles. So as you can see here, I'm a little out of frame, but I pour the egg mixture into the noodles. I still don't have the pan on any sort of heat source. It has enough residual heat to end up finishing this pasta. So I just continuously mix and mix and mix, making sure that I don't let it sit in one spot and let the eggs cook slowly. If the pasta does end up sitting in one spot for too long, then you'll pretty much just make scrambled eggs like I was talking about before. I just keep mixing and mixing and mixing, along with the eggs, the cheese, and that starchy water. It's making the perfect creamy sauce. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the pork belly that we had fried up. I'd quickly drained it onto a paper towel just to get the rest of the grease off before we put it back into the pasta. Once we put it into the pasta, gonna go ahead and mix it all together, and our pasta is ready. Gonna go ahead, go over to the plate it all up, and that is that. So there it is, the pasta carbonara. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our future content. Let me know down below what you guys enjoyed most about today's video, and let me know what you guys would like to see in the future. I'm open to anything. Well, hold on, almost anything. Probably not the, you know, OF. But besides that, open to pretty much anything, cooking-wise. Let's keep it at cooking-wise. Cooking-wise. Anyway, go out and make this dish. It's super easy. It's like 10 ingredients. One of the easiest things you can make, and it's so delicious. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see y'all in the next one. 2-inch gang! Gosh, dude. This stuff looks bussin'. Just a yellow sludge of goopy snot egg. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Holy shit, that was good. That's unbelievable. I mean, it is believable. I made this before, but that was bussin'. Add the garlic. It makes it so much better.